Hi, I'm Heather Peltier with Education Foundations. Welcome to video 1 of the Microsoft Excel for Educators series, using conditional formatting to identify duplicate student IDs. This is the first video of a series, and in this series, we're going to show you how to use Microsoft Excel functions like conditional formatting, VLOOKUP, and pivot tables to answer the question, how can I identify grade 5 students for intervention groups in Earth Space Science based on their performance on a progress monitoring test? If you like this video, please click the thumbs up icon below. For this activity, we have a group of 5 teachers working together who want to create cross-classroom intervention groups for 110 students. The progress monitoring test that was administered to these students reports out results by domain or standard subscore as low, low average, average, high average, or high. For this activity, we are playing the role of an instructional coach who has agreed to help the teachers identify the students for these cross-classroom intervention groups based on their progress monitoring data, specifically in the Earth Space Science subdomain. We have 2 files that we're going to use for this activity. One is a file that has the IDs and names of the students and their current science teacher assignments. Another is a file that has the names and IDs of the grade 5 students as well as their progress monitoring results, but no teacher information. In order to figure out which class the students are going to go to for their intervention groups, we're going to take a few steps. We've broken down each step into a separate video. So if you have your own file and just need a walkthrough of how to do something specific in Excel, you can go straight to the video that you need. The steps that we'll be covering in this overall series are using conditional formatting to clean your data and identify duplicates, using a VLOOKUP formula to combine 2 cleaned data files, and using a pivot table to create student intervention groups based on their progress monitoring scores. We'll be using 2 files for this activity, which you can find linked in the description and in the comments section below the video. Science Teacher Assignments and Student Science Data. So let's get started. Our first task is cleaning up our student data files in order to use the VLOOKUP formula. Our first sub-question will be, how do we identify and remove duplicate students in a data file so that we can have a unique identifier for each student before combining files? The first thing to understand about VLOOKUP is that it's a way to match information from 2 different files, but the value that you're matching on must be unique in order for it to return the correct information. For example, if you try to match by first name, but you have 7 students in the file who are named Matthew, you'll probably not get the outcome you're looking for. Excel just won't know how the Matthew records line up because Matthew is not a unique identifier. So the first thing you need is a value that uniquely identifies each child. In education, this is almost always a student identifier. I qualify this with almost always because data is not always as clean as we would like for it to be. So we sometimes have cases where the same student identifier gets assigned to more than one student. We've included a case like this so we can demonstrate how to check for issues with your data. When VLOOKUP fails, this is one of the main causes of the failure. So first, I'm going to show you how to check a file for duplicates in the value you want to match on, student ID. I've opened up our first file, Student Science Data. This has a list of students from the school, and it includes their grade levels, student IDs, names, MTSS status, projected score on the state science test based on their progress monitoring data, progress monitoring test subscore level on each of 3 science domains, Earth Space Science, Physical Science, Life Science, as well as a score on a district level mock science test. The first thing we're going to do is use conditional formatting to identify any duplicates by student ID. Because we're looking for duplicates in this particular field, we'll click on the letter B to highlight that student ID column, and then go to Conditional Formatting, then highlight Cells Rules, then Duplicate Values. Pick whatever color you want to highlight it. You can see they give you a few options. It doesn't really matter as long as whatever you pick stands out to you. Then click OK. Now I have two ways to search for duplicates. One is less prone to user error than the other. So the first way is to manually scroll down the file looking for colorful cells. This works fine if it's a small file with a small number of students. If you're looking at students from an entire school or district though, you'll have to do some scrolling and there's a chance you may miss any highlights. So in the case of a file with lots of kids, we recommend using the filter function to see if you have any colored cells, which would indicate that you have duplicates. To use the filter function and filter by color, go to the Data tab in the Excel ribbon. Click on Filter, which turns on those drop-down arrows next to each column header. Then go to the Student ID tab and click on that drop-down arrow and click Sort by Color. I can see right away when I do this that I have at least some cells that got flagged as duplicates because I see a pink fill as an option. When I click on the pink fill, those duplicate records will appear at the top of my file. I can see I've got two of them here for Victoria Rowe. These records look identical except for grade level. One of these is correct and the other must be a typo or have some other issue. So now the first thing I need to do is figure out which one is the correct record that I want to keep in the file and remove the incorrect record. I probably also need to work with my information services person to get this cleaned up in the student information system. So let's say I know that the record with a grade level of 6 is incorrect. Victoria is actually a grade 5 student. I'm going to highlight the row by clicking on number 3 here of that incorrect record, and then I'm going to right click and select Delete. You'll notice right away that when I do this, the colorful cell fill disappears. Now I have a file with completely unique student IDs. To save time here, I've already done the same ID checking on my second file, the teacher assignment file. When you're doing this with your own files, I strongly encourage you to check both of them before beginning a VLOOKUP. There is a way to match with duplicates in one of the two files, but to keep it simple, the best thing to do is to get rid of the duplicates in both files. So now we have two files, both with a unique record identifier of student ID. We're going to use that ID to match the records in both files. If you like this video and want to learn more about how to use Excel as an educator, we encourage you to check out our course, Excel for Educational Leaders. In this course, we begin with Excel basics like terminology, how to open files, sorting, filtering, and finding within your data, freezing rows for easy viewing, and then we move up to more advanced functions. More advanced functions that we cover include commonly used formulas, pivot tables, and how to create graphics from your data. Every concept that we teach within Excel is centered around a guiding question that's a typical question that educators would be asking about their student data. And we use a spiraling curriculum so that concepts are reinforced and retaught along the way. You'll get lots of practice on each one of these areas. If this is something that you're interested in and you want to learn how you can use Excel to create efficiencies within your role, then we definitely would love to have you in our course. Thanks so much for listening.